who are we in Congress to basically make a decision to expel someone who was elected by 750,000 people in their district?
Yeah.
We should allow the constituents to be able to do their jobs and to be able to go ahead and carry out their civic duties. And again, this for me is more about protecting your Sixth Amendment, more about protecting the rule of law, and due process, but also protecting the vote of the constituents so that they can actually have the rights to elect or not elect whomever they choose.
Yeah, it sounds like it's become a little bit too much of a social club of people that think they're elite and they can just, technically they can still kick each other out, but I do think that it's like, you don't like my guy? Well, he's my guy.
Well, but think about it. Jamal Bowman admits to doing something wrong while a member of Congress.
Committing a crime.
And actually is charged for that. He gets censured. A guy who does something which was previous in most cases of what his indictments for the grand jury is being accused of, in my understanding, is prior to coming in and has not yet been prosecuted for it, but he gets expelled.
Is it just legit?
We have Bowman on camera. If they were going to expel someone before a conviction, Bowman, I would understand as being reasonable because he's on camera.
I don't even justify that, whether it's on camera or not. We should allow the due process to be there. We can't say that we, again, are being judge, jury, and executioner based on our observance. You are not guilty by the observations in which you make. You are guilty by the rendered verdict by either the judgment of a judge, who we appoint for solid reasons, or the jury, which actually finds their peer guilty. I mean, we just have to understand we're a nation which is based on the rule of law. We're a constitutional republic. And we have to not continue to water that down and dilute it just because it's beneficial for us.
You brought up the impeachment of Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin, and he was basically largely responsible for the surrender of the American military.
Right. Him and Anthony Blinken, the Secretary of State.
So what would an impeachment look like? What would be the charges and how would that play out?
My charge on him was the dereliction of duty. I mean, the simple fact that he has a role to play and a job to do. You had soldiers who were deployed who had no rules of engagement, no understanding of what their authorization of force was. I mean, there's people who could have actually, and in one case, a guy named Tyler Vargas Andrews, I believe is his name, or Tyler Andrew Vargas, I always mess this up. But he was badly injured and is an amputee as a result of the explosion. He was the sniper who was in the tower who actually had identified the potential suicide bomber, had called back what he appeared to be the identified bolo, which is the be on the lookout, had it verified, was asking for a green light to be able to engage, and never received a green light from any of his command because they didn't know who actually had the authority to give that. Moments later, the explosion goes off. 13 brave members have lost their lives. These are things where you should have an escalation of force and a rules of engagement that's established prior to them even being deployed. You should have an understanding of what was going on. And so this was completely just botched from the very beginning. And the fact that there's no one who's been held accountable. And look, when I think about accountability, I think about it as you lead by example. And so it's, for me, I used to call it the concept of windows and mirrors. When something is being done properly, and everything is going successfully, you look through the window at all those outside who are actually delivering on that. But when something goes wrong as a leader, you have to look in the mirror because ultimately it's on you.
This seems like a pattern, though. I mean, there are several Republicans, I think Andy Biggs, or is it Biggs or Briggs, from Arizona. He brought dereliction of duty impeachment charges against Mayorkas.
Absolutely.
For the border, because the border's a mess. But
I don't think anyone can argue that's not justified.
Mayorkas should definitely be impeached, but we haven't gotten it yet. I mean, there are lots of members of the Biden administration who I would believe are derelict in duty, but they are still in office. At what point do we get some action?